Rayanyag ti Lugosor, programa ngagserbi kamang kenrang tayo iti gobyerno probinsyal. Lalo na, iti beneg iti sanggo niyang panlalawigan ti probinsya ng Ilocosur. Mangted tinanay ng informasyon kadagiti programa, proyektos, tulong, ken mga sistir kadagiti ang problema nga OFW ang kalugaran tayo. Rayanyag ti Lugosor. Tinagaget, Produktibo Presiding Officer, the busy Governor of the Province of Ilocosur, Ryan Luis Singson, our main anchor, Ken Lito Javier, our co-anchor, Ryan Nyag ti Ilocosur, at tuyen nagsubli ngagserbi kada kayo, ang sipod tada kayo ti inspirasyon mi, Ryan Nyag ti Ilocosur, da kayo ti inspirasyon mi.
Naranyag nga bigat ka probinsyaan. Dati man iti programa tayo, Ranyag ti Ilocosur. So, syempre, ang iyong host of the day, Mrs. Raman Waltabay. Ayan. Miss ko nakla ko haanin. Baka di makita yung sing-sing ko tata. Chenes! So, syempre, kadwa tayo ti technical side tayo ni Miss Cara Molina, and it's me, your kapid, Ramanuel. Of course, Erlito, naganan awan iso na so nga tatamanin siya kiti makadkadwayo iti programa Rayanyag ti Ilocosur. So NBA Finals, di ba? NBA Finals ko naman NBA, so digiti madabag bubuya ti NBA tatapa cheer naman tayo no nya ti ganap ngayon for today's basketball, di ba? Madaman sa ti IM ti Miami Heat, and of course aglilid sa ti Miami Heat. Ayan, updated kababae mong tao nanonood ng basketball. Ganon talaga. Hindi lang basta babae, di ba? No nya ti kayat buyain ti lalaki. Ay, kaya mit buyain, kaya mi met nga buyain. Mapa-action man, basketball man, no kaya yung basketball, kaya mi met nga babae. Kaya, no kaya yung billiard, ay, kaya mi met nga babae. Ganon talaga, kaya nga we celebrate a Women's Month. Idi buwan ng Marso kasi nga detang nga talaga iti panagselebrar kadagiti babae. So syempre hindi tayo nakaka-out today kasi nga it's super hot. O di ba naka-aircon na ako, naka-electric fan, pero parang hindi gumagana ang aking electric fan, pawis na pawis pa rin ang aking face. Di ba? So this is my look for today. So syempre, happy fiesta! Sa Municipality of Santo Domingo, naragsak na pa nagpiyes tayo. Di tayo iti Santo Domingo. And hopefully ma-enjoy yung iti pa nagpiyes tayo. Kada ito nga bulan, month of May. So, syempre, iti kalman, and we have our kada ito nga bulan, month of May, is a National Heritage Month. By virtue of Presidential Proclamation Number 439, 2003, the month of May has been annually celebrated as the National Heritage Month. These observance aim to create among the Filipinos people a consciousness, respect, and love for the legacies of the nation cultural history. So let's celebrate and preserve our rich cultural heritage in Ilocosur. Panakil tayo ken ayaten iti patpateg tay a probinsya. So ayan, happy National Heritage Month by the page of our Vice Governor Ryan Luis Singson. So dita lang nakita lang dito yung page na. So eto nga bulan haan lang iti panagpiesta no ket di panag lagi pa yen or dito yung tinatawag na natin na National Heritage Month. Ibig sabihin na aming nga cultural nga naabutan tayo, sipo di dinayanak tayo na preserve, like kuma dito yung bell tower, preserve talaga deta, historical talaga deta. So nagkaroon nga ng ginggined, ni dandani pa gaya mag 1 year, di ba? Idi last year nagkaroon tayo tinapig sa ginggined di last year, and hopefully nga nagana na han ko mamagaraw dagitan. Like ito'y simbaan, dito'y cathedral, dito'y vegan, di ba? So pergamin to'y apektado na. Kasi nga, it's so old nga talaga na. Gasem deta, hindi pala kupong-kupong, kumbaga nga, awan ka pa'y lang. Awan pa lang ni mama mo siguro, ni papa mo, di ba? So, dagita is, we celebrate this month. Aming nga historical, national data. National, ito'y heritage tayo is, i-celebrate tayo dito nga bulan. So, ayan, nga na ganan, dapat kumakit ma-preserve dagiti historical tayo. Yung dumakit na ganan, handa nga may preserve. They're renovating or is ginagawa na lang modernization. Diba? So, daduma di dating nga old house ket baliwen. Diba? Daduma, mostly dito vegan, we have old houses like heritage. Di daduma ket na ganan na preserve, di daduma ket sa anin. Di po ba? Kasi nga, nadadaelin. Siyempre, di nga dadael nga buildingin ket kailangan i-renovate payen, basit, or di kaya is baguhin na payen. Ngayon, adadigiti daduma is talagang preserved na, ti historical na. Like, dito'y example, dito'y Hotel Luna is dati daduma nga preserved nga historical nga talaga. Di ba? So, pagpasok mo pa lang is talagang Spanish. At talagang old talaga. Di ba? No, dakati arwarte Hotel Luna ket 2 stories iti makita mo, sombrek ka ket 4 stories iti makita mo. So, ganun. Dadigiti daddo mga some parts, they preserve the historical. Preserve the digiti kinapintas na. Di ba? At yung daddo maket, they're renovating tapno ma-preserve pa dito nga location or ma-preserve pa dito nga nagan. Di po ba? So, ayan, we celebrate this National Heritage Month. So, hopefully, nga dito nga panag-celebrate tayo, kadagiti heritage tayo, keta we still have the respect, the love, and of course, the preservation kada ito nga historical. Historical dito yan. Nasa dugo ng nakaraan, kumbaga. Wang kapay la idi, ang kapay na yanak idi, ang kapay na buo idi, lalo sa tawin mo itata. And of course, hopefully nga by next generation, maabutan dan tulat ta, mamuan dan tulat ta, kada ito nga heritage, or historical, di ba? Like that bell tower, sayang kami malanaoli, sakbay nga sabi nga naging gined. So, tapno makita mit ko magibyo di anak ko nga kastoy iti van type bell tower iti ngato na. Well, actually taga-vegan na nagana na mostly no daw may bumisita kanyami like dagiti ay Manilas. Kasin ko Manilas kasin, pagudpud kasin. And so whatever nga may bumisbisita. Number 1 talaga is tourist destination is Bantay Bell Tower. Kasi no, Gida Manila, makita na dito yun nga, feeling mo nasa Albay. Hanap ko yung nakabante Albay, pero sa picture na makikita ko sa Albay, parang ganun yung Bell Tower. Di ba, kurang lang yan itimayon. Yan ti likodan na. Di ba, so, mayat deta nga number 1, makapauma ko namin idi high school life kami, college life, di talatan, Bantay Bell Tower, Hidden Garden, Baluarte, dagiti mayat nga papanan. And of course, heritage, kasama na yan yung mga heritage. Idi awan pala ti fountain dancing iti, dagita pala ti paspasyaren may di, no? Dati umay nga bisita. Ngayon tatana dati dancing fountain, syempre nasa bucket list natin yan, nga masyat nga mapapanan nga pagpasyaran. Diba? So, ayan yung mga dapat is mini-maintain na natin. Para no bumakit kanto, no maabot mo to pa ititawan 80s, nagswerte kan. Nung maabot ko to pa iti 80s, ay po, thank you ko lang. Kasta, di ba? Tanaabot ko pa dati kasi nga tawin. Tano, maabot mo ti kasta, dati apong, dinamag na lula nga damo gayam ti Bell Tower idi, di ba? Nagpintas dito naku, di ta kami. Tapos bring back memories kanto, dagiti mapapaspasa, syempre kabdom dito barkada, families, di po ba? So ayan, nagkakaroon ng memories nga dapat pre-preserve din natin sa ating mind and heart. Social. So, syempre, tatangaron niya, it's, ano ngayon? It's May 11, 2023. Sunday is May 14. That is our Mother's Day. So, are you ready for the celebration for the Mother's Day? Amo kanya tayo is daduma redin, daduma saan pay. Hi. Muna ganan silang iti aldawin makapanunot kay ban iti celebration nga mabalin tayo nga ipaay para kadagiti inna tayo, mothers tayo. And of course, aming nga single mom, single dad. So, okay, kasama nga single dad, kasi nga single dad is tumatayong nanay at tatay. So, celebrate na tumanin na next month din for the celebration of Father's Day. So, tapos to na next month, kadagiti single mom, celebrate na tumanin, manindo celebrate. Kasi nga sila ang tumatayong nanay at tatay. Di po ba? So, nga manido nga ag-celebrate. So, syempre, Mother's Day into na Sunday. Naka-ready na ba ang mga tigasin dyan? Tigasaang, tigalaba. Di ba? Tigasin ko na dangasta. Ready ba dagiti fathers tayo itatnan nga amang surprise ka dagiti misses or dagiti mothers tayo. So, ang tayo liplipatan niya nga iti pa nag-celebrate iti Mother's Day ket gundawayan tayo nga panagyaman, iti sakripisyo da kanya tayo. Sipud idi binuo na tayo, iti uneg, iti tiyan. Kasi nga, nagrigat niya. Nagrigat agaramid. Nagrigat agaramid, kailangan talaga tiyempuhan, no, talagang willingness kayong nagkaroon iti supling. Daduma niya, daduma reality or movies, dahil serye, ti makikita tayo nga, they're trying hard nga talaga nga ipupush itig karon iti supling. Apay nga tanya, sometimes mapampanunod tayo nga, apay nga taji kayat na nga karon iti anak ket haang nga maipaay. Ngem digi hampay nga ready ket may kandagos, di ba? Siguro lesson learned kasi yung mga naganan dagiti nakaubran iti kuan na ganan digi hampay nga ready di bigbiglalatan nga adan, di po ba? So, lesson learned yan. So, we're not both ready noon, but this time, di ba? No, di nakasikog keng ka, inkasar na ka, talaga tinakderan na ka, well and good. Di po ba? Kaysa di sikogan na ka, tinarayan na ka, tapos, hampay lamang ti sustento. Ang bagsak is, na ganan, kakaroon iti riri. Di po ba? Nagpangit iti kasjay. Di po ba? So, daduma, trying hard ang paggawa ng mga anak. Tapno laing may bagay-bagida nga na ganan, complete family. Kuna da nga rod, ubing iti may samang patpatibker iti relasyon, iti may nga agasawa. Which is, I learned that, di nagkaroon nakmet iti anak. Adi, dati no boyfriend-girlfriend, di ba? Sinatan ko na mas matik. Matik talagang iwalayan. Ngem no danto ti anak yon nga mangguyod kanyayo ti maysa nyo may bagati agsina. Talaga nga ornosen nyo, talaga nga piliten nyo pay nga mabalbalingket maornos ngem no talaga nga madin han talaga kayan iti sakit ti nakim nga tano daman na aramid ti maysa kem maysa ngem no papanonotem hamo kaya ti karon iti broken family, diba? Bakit kasi broken family, di ba? Adato ti naganan no nagsina di lalaki kay babae, adato bukod ti sa pamilya di lalaki, dapat bukod ti pamilya di babae. So san lulugar yung mga anak nga nabuo yo. Yung pangit yung mga ganon, di ba? Palipat-lipat da, mabalindag stay kay ni father na, mabalindag stay kay ni mother na. And of course, daduma, madinamot kaya ni stepmother or di kaya ni stepdad. Di po ba? So, nagkakaroon ng conflict. So, once nga dato pamilya yon, kadagiti kabataan out there, and of course, lagiti bumuo iti pamilya na, make sure nga you have the financially stable. Yan lang ang aking masasabi. Financially stable and of course, time management. Time management, no, da trabaho na, lalo no, office or di kaya isa na ganan sa hotels kasi maiwasan sa loob ng hotels nagkakaroon ng graveyard, PM duty and AM duty. And of course, pag office lang is stuck lang yung time nila 8 to 5 PM lang. Dito lang ti talagang off may bagak for the time management. No time management na pag day off, make sure nga nagko-quality time ka for your family. Di po ba? And of course, no matter financially stable, pag wala, make sure is nakaka-budget lahat. So, hindi nawawala sa mag-asawa ang pag-aaway ng pera, lalo na kapag hindi kayo financially stable. So, yan ang aking advice na maibibigay sa inyo. Kasi nga, dyan kami nagsimula. Financially stable, nothing. Time management, nothing. Kasi nga, time management namin, may work siya. Ako wala, 'di ba? So nasa loob lang bahay, tikayat mo idi kadto bla isuna, and that it's so annoying. Ay di nga ako panunutanin. Among kwartayo tapos kaya mo kadto pala isuna, 'di ba? So na parang nakuanak DJ nga kayat ko. And I'm a pregnant woman that time. So masapol ket awaten, 'di po ba? Di mo no awatem di bagim or awatem di jay sitwasyon yo. So gaya sabi ko, awan kay man nagrugi kay man ti awan ti financially stable, make sure nga mornong yun to step by step dan tulata. By of course na ganan masapol yung lata iti panagwalo, panagkararag, tapno adala ta iti guidance, makita kanyayo, and whatsoever. Nagrigat ti bumuop ti pamilya, bagbagakon. Haan nga narigat iti agaramid. Narigat no awan iti financial stable, time management, trust, love, and so everything na dati marriage life en. Di po ba? And before ka papasok sa marriage life, make sure nga nag-live-in kay yan lang. Why? Why naman kailangan pa mag-live-in? Diba? So, apay nga tama sapol pala yung tag-live-in. Sa panahon ngayon is mas DJ mo nga makita may isang nga tao. Diba? Idi panawin iti tiyempo tugi. Kung nadang kasta, sakbay ka makiasawa, ay na ganan, hang kapay lang maki-live-in. Or sakbay ka mga asawa, idikit na ganan, umay dapay na ganan, tawag na dito, umay di lalaki, may naalang di imam, agpakada, kumbaga, di, nalipatak pa di o, di ba, which is nangyari naman ngayon, o nangyayari pa rin ngayon, yung paghingi ng kamay sa mga magulang, di ba? And idigamin, dapat no sakbay kagkasar is talagang kay pa'y nagdenden na. So, yan yung pumapasok yung mga physical abuse, na ganun, emotional abuse, and of course, hamugami pa'y ama-amu iso na kasi hamu pa'y nadenden na iso na. Ngayon, itatan, at i-advise na daduma, ag-live-in kay pa'y mo noon na, kita nyo tiyos usto ti ugali yo. Diba? Which is true, that is true. Di nag-live-in kami, Mio, lumabas lahat ng sungay. Maraming Diyos gusto nga ugali, nakigtot kami ti maysa ken maysa. And then of course, after a year and a year and a year, kabisado mi ti bagbagimin, and ayan, napagdesisyonan na magpatali na. By bless ti Lord, tinagsimbahan, and of course, both families. Di po ba? So, ayan, itigamin, palauso iti na ganan, agdenden na. Ito na once nagden na kay din, tawag nila sa'yo is makasalanang tao. Di po ba? Which is, hanggang ngayon is, nobody's perfect. Lata nga. Bagam nga, na ganan nasimpet ka, dati na ganan, bagam nga, oray no, perfect mo amiti score iti klase, no, dalata iti sins, or basol mo is, basol lata day jay. Di ba? Nobody's perfect. Tilang may bagang niya, tilang may bagak niya, no once nga perfect kagamingkit, wow, very good. Di ba? Kasi makita met ti environment tatan is madami pa rin pagkakamali nga haan pulos nga mabaliwan, di po ba? So generation by generation, pa-update ng pa-update or pa-upgrade ng pa-upgrade ang ating population, of course, and of course our modernization. dagiti agap upgrade nga agap upgrade latan same iti met oneg iti pamilya or oneg iti balay, di po ba? So ayan yung mga naganan panpanunod tayo itata what if niya into no sumaro no nga generation maamuan dan to pay lang nga ta iti kastoy nga patakaran nga idi tiyempo idi masapol mo pay lang mang ted iti gilalaki iti may isa nga buo nga baka tapno mo na may patunayan nga kaya na nga biyagen iti pamilya na, di ba? Usos today jay adati town no? Or province nga kasi nga mang ted pay la iti may isa nga buo nga baka mang ted iti baboy kani panawin idi no was nagkasarkan lalaki iti aggasto na ganan gastuan na amin no was nagkasar nyo kaya nakasaren ni Mayra kuma ay kaya na ganan syempre itibong gagamin idikit buo nga barangay ma-invite. Di ba? O so pa di pasala idi nga taptan haanin nga mararamid ditoy syudad. But hindi lang mo tiyon oneg iti barbarangays no dapat la iti pasala before the wedding. Ang dapat kasabihan da nga hanggang mo dapat kita nga gasawa sakbay di kasar. Malas ka no. Idi. Ngayon tatangarod sa panahon ngayon nga rodengket, haanin nga daduma adati sumursurot, daduma haanin nga sursuroten, agadulat ti pamahin iti babake lalakay. Di ba ngem ko na dangarod haamet nga narigat no suroten iti kasabihan. Ada kasi daduma ket na talaga nagiging totoo, di ba? Hamo sa rin yung wedding dress mo kung nakakasta isuot mo lahat yung wedding dress mo. Di po ba? Nakita ni future husband mo, di ba? Dagiti pamahiin nga dapat is na ganan ina-upgrade. Ina-upgrade. Depende kay kano o sorotem wenno saan. Nasa sayo yan kung gagamitin mo pa ba or usarin pa ba iti agkasal or naganan dagito nga pamahihin kaya mo pa iba nga tawag na dito nga soroten meno saan adagi dito duma like panagornong iti tawag na dito adagi dito duma pamahiin ket ububraen dagiti Pilipino, di ba, like ti natayan dagiti natayan duma ket ububraen dagiti pamahiin, and of course sa bali pamahiin dito Ilocos sa balimet di duma nga lugar, di ba? Dagamin di dadumaket nalipatak pa yan. So, ayan, duma-duma probinsya na duma-dumamet nga pamahiin nga intay sursuroten. So, syempre, sakbay tayo ulit iti programa rin nga Ilocos Sur, dagiti mampay, dagiti palagi. Awa ma-play, babe?
No serbisyo analaka nga catering ti masapulyo, adda iti Caril's Garden Catering Services ang masarakan di Mabini Street, Barangay Rizal, Kabugaw, Ilocos Sur. Adu pa iti agkakaimas nga makan ti inkay pagpilyan. Ken saan lang kadayta na ornos ti serbisyo da, napintas iti set up da. Ken saan yon a problema no kasapulan nyo iti venue. Oray anyaman nga okasyon ket mabaling nga rambakan kas iti kasar, birthday, anniversary, reunions, meeting, ken dumapay. Caril's Garden and Catering Services ti kapintasan ken kalakaan. Nadaras pay akasarita ti akin bagi ani Sir Carlito ken Maricar Asena. Wenno kontaken iti numero 0917-799-1273. Wenno 0917-799-5110. Caril's Garden and Catering Services. Umay kayon!
Problema yu kadi iti panangalat ti student driving permit, renewal iti lisensya ngagmaneho, ken panang-upgrade iti restriction code dagiti lisensyayo. Solbaren dagiti nga problema yo iti RX Driving School. Ti RX Driving School ket accredited iti LTO ng eskwelaan amang ipaay kadagiti sumaganad. TDC wenno theoretical driving course. Kasapulan daytoy kadagiti mangalat ti student permit. PDC wenno practical driving course paramat kadagiti mangala iti non-prop wenno professional driver's license. Upgrading iti restriction code paramat kadagiti mangnayon iti mabalinda a manehuen ken ti special driving course paramat kadagiti kayat na tagsursurong agmaneho ti motorsiklo, tricycle, four wheels, manual or automatic ken dumapay. Naanos ken nalaing dagiti driving instructors da nga accredited iti LTO. Dito'y 2nd District, masarakan ti RX Driving School iti National Highway, Barangay Tablak, Candon City, abay iti Sacred Heart Medical Laboratory. Dito'y mat 1st District, masarakan ti RX Driving School, abay mismo iti LTO. Dita poblasyon is San Ildefonso, Iluko Sur. Ken dita probinsya ti Ilocos Norte, masarakan ti RX Driving School iti along the National Highway, Barangay Kalagip, Batak City, sango ti Ilocandia Cultural Center ken Mariano Marcos Memorial Hospital. Asideg iti mismong LTO. No lisensya ti panagmaneho, ken nasayat a pagsusuruan ngagmaneho, RX Driving School iti papanan. Para tadadong informasyon, tumawag wenno ag-text kayo iti 0917-578-3132 and 0917-811-0581. Dito 1st District San Ildefonso, 0917-306-3735. Itamot 2nd District Candon City, 0917-120-1745. Ken Ditabatak City, 0917-329-0591. RX Driving School.
Kaya't mo akanayon na nakakondisyon ti motor mo, saan tayo abaybayan ngagdadael? Sigude na patarimaan, tadda tinalaing ken anos a mekaniko, ken pagkagatangan ti high-end ken genuine a piyesa ti motorsiklo. King Rabe Motorcycle Parts Enterprises. Anyaman na piyesa ken brand ti motorsiklo kasapulan at daamin dita King Rabe Motorcycle Parts Enterprises. Saan kan ngagpaspasarak, mapankan di sigurado. Adupay di pagpilyan tinadumaduma a brand affiliate, motor oil ken kumpleto apang setup. Pasyaren ti Pestuda sa Jikabarwan, Santa Catalina, Ilocos Sur. At dabay branch na ditaigid ti National Highway, Sunto, Bantay, Ilocos Sur, ken Sadyay, Dagupan City. Ride safety. Siguradwen anapintas ti kondisyon dagiti motorsiklo. Adda ti mapagtalgaan a King Rabe Motorcycle Parts Enterprises. Ken no kasapulan piloga na pagpasya ken adday ti darayan nyo nga okasyon. Kastapay no dasabaten nyo akaming ti pamilyayo a balikbayan at danda iti ban amarentaan. Kontakin nyo ti numero 0917-188-7507. Ukwa ken imatmatonan da Bonnie ken Lynn Rabe. King Rabe Motorcycle Parts Enterprises.
Foods ba ang hanap mo? Kaya't mo tek mukbang ng basit ti budget. Kapangkan sa J Books Eat Food Hub. Masarakan ti igit ti National Highway, Barangay Kabarwan, Bantay, Ilocos Sur. Giseserve dati only wings, rice, lechon kawale, sisig kanda dumapay a pagpilya. In kayon ti Books Eat Food Hub. Matmatunan dito ni Miss Eileen Tolentino ken ni Miss Luena Lu Manlies. And the food, yem suwak sa bulsa. Anya pa'y tururayam, mapankan ti Books Eat Food Hub. Books Eat Food Hub, sigurado mabsog ta buksit mo. Nagbebero kay matinaimas nga pulutan, wano dagiti maprito amakmakan. Saragam lang ti Choylin Fried Station. Masarakan ti na dumaduma pwestuda ti probinsya nga Ilocos Sur, at dita syudad ti Vigan, Iliti Santo Domingo, Kabugaw, Sinait, Narvacan, ken Candon City. At dapat pwestuda dita Abra ken pati Batak ken Lawag City, Ilocos Norte. Ado dagiti mabili mo pagpilian. Adati fried chicken, crispy pata, fried itik, lechon kawali, tokwat baboy ken pork sisig, choylin fried station, fried to perfection. No kaya't mumati only rice ken only soup all you can, 3 mantas grill house lang sapat na. Ado dagiti pagbilya mga combo meals nga sigurado aswak ti budget mo. Masarakan ti 3 mantas grill house sa Bayubay Sur, San Vicente, Ilocos Sur. What are you waiting for? Come and visit 3 mantas grill house today. Kung mahilig ka mat dagiti matuno makmakan, na tuno grill house lang ang iyong kailangan. They offering chicken inasal, pork barbecue, chicken barbecue, only rice pork inasal ken only chicken wings. Masarakan tinatuno grill house sa San Jose, Narbacan, Ilocos Sur. Anya pa'y tururayang, pasyara mo dagito nga panganan. Na i-master biag no nananam timakan.
Nueva Segovia Consortium of Cooperatives. Ti kooperatiba ano bayagin nga nagseserbi kadang ti Ilocano iti Amyanan, Luzon. Ti kooperatiba ang manpapaay ti serbisyo, benepisyo, ken mangisakit karedi empleyado ken miyembro na. Ti Nueva Segovia Consortium of Cooperatives wano NSCC ket adon tinatulungan na. Babayin medit nga mayat alangin-langin ken kooperasyon dagiti miyembro ken mangimatmaton. Adon tinagduruasan ti kooperatiba. Adupay dagiti naynayon ang kasbek akas ti NSCC Farm, Chicharon Processing Facility, Macro Laboratory, kastameten ti NSCC Plaza, ken NSCC Business Center. Isungan niya pelang ter orayem makikaptengkan iti kadakilan a kooperatiba iti probinsya. Ti Nueva Segovia Consortium of Cooperatives suman na NSCC. Imatmatunan na daytoy ni Dr. Gibina Kenny.
As the heritage province of the North reopens to tourists, it launches the all-new Tour Ilocos Sur app. A quick guide to Ilocos Sur at your fingertips. Find the best tourist spots. Hotels. Bars and restaurants. And authentic Ilocos Sur products and food. Be updated on upcoming events, plus get notified on the important announcements and updates. Available for global download on Android and iOS. The Tour Ilocos Sur app. Historical becomes digital.
Paapo kaditi makayayo abuya iti uneg iti pagtaingam. Anya man nagasapulam kas ti moderno a klase iti silaw kada ti chandelier LED lights ken na dumapay. Kasabay kadagiti agkakapintas at toilet bowl, wool claddings, stainless sa lababo, kastamenten na dumaduma ti klase na tiles ken na dumapay ang materyales agkasapulan ti pagbangon ti balay. Pasyaren ti AC Newborn Home and Builder Center. Nalawa ti showroom da, agkomportable kang agpili ti kayat mo a disenyo. Mabalin pa nga isuda iti magi-set up kadagiti katangin. Masarakan sa Rizal Street, Sulphur, Bantay, Ilocos Sur. Imatmatunan na Mr. and Mrs. Alain Chan. Saanen ngagtaktak mapankan sa JAC Newborn Home and Builder Center. Mapuga di ti makayayo abuya iti uneg iti pagtaingam. Anya man nagasapulam kas ti moderno a klase ti silaw kada ti chandelier LED lights kenda dumapay. Kasabay karigiti agkakapintas at toilet bowl. Wall claddings stainless sa lababo. Kasamit din na dumaduma ti klase na tiles kenda dumapay ang materyales at kasapulan ti pagbangon ti balay. Pasyaren ti AC Newborn Home and Builder Center. Nalawa ti showroom da. Agkomportable kang agpili ti kayat mo a disenyo. Mabalin pa nga isuda iti magi-set up kadagiti katangin. Masarakan sa Rizal Street, Sulphur, Bantay, Iloco Sur. Imat matunan na Mr. and Mrs. Alain Chan. Saanen ngagtaktak mapankan sa JAC Newborn Home and Builders Center.
Only foods ba ang hanap mo? Kaya't mo mukbang ng basit ti budget. Kapangkan sa Books Eat Food Hub. Masarakan ti igit ti National Highway Barangay Kabarwan, Bantay, Iloco Sur. Giseserve dati only wings, rice, lechon kawale, sisig kanda dumapay a pagpilian. In kayon ti Books Eat Food Hub. Matmatunan dito ni Miss Eileen Tolentino ken ni Miss Luenalu Manliles. And the food, ngem suwak sa bulsa. Anya pa ito orayam, mapankan ti Books Eat Food Hub. Books Eat Food Hub, sigurado mabsog ta buksit mo. Nagbebero kay matinaimas nga pulutan wano dagiti maprito amakmakan. Saragam lang ti Choylin Fried Station. Masarakan din na dumaduma pwesto dati probinsya ng Iluko Sur at dati ta syudad ti Viga, Iliti Santo Domingo, Kabugaw, Sinait, Narvacan, ken Canton City. At dapat pwesto dati ta Abra ken pati Batak ken Lawag City, Ilocos Norte. At doon dagiti mabili mo pagpilian. At dati fried chicken, crispy pata, fried itik, lechon kawali, tokwat baboy ken pork sisig. Choylin Fried Station. Fried to perfection. No kaya't mumati only rice can only soup all you can. 3 mantas grill house lang sapat na. Ado dagiti pagbilya mga combo meals nga sigurado aswak ti budget mo. Masarakan ti 3 mantas grill house sa Bayubay Sur, San Vicente, Ilocos Sur. What are you waiting for? Come and visit 3 mantas grill house today. Kung mahilig ka mat dagiti matuno makmakan, na tunog grill house lang ang iyong kailangan. Dahil offering chicken inasal, pork barbecue, chicken barbecue, only rice pork inasal, ken only chicken wings. Masarakan tinatunog grill house sa San Jose, Narvacan, Ilocos Sur. Anya pa iturorayam, pasyara mo dagito nga panganan. Na imas tagdag nunananam timakan.
Question na tayo, sir. Si
sige.
John na yun ang inquiry.
Ay, okay.
Sir, magandang gabi.
Good evening.
Ano pong agenda ang ipupush nyo dito sa ASEAN Summit? At bukod sa tatlong leaders na kabilateral nyo, yung Vietnam, Laos, at
Timor-Leste.
meron pa po ba kayong ibang kabilateral?
So far, hindi. Yung pa lang ang nakaschedule. Kasi kung titignan nyo yung schedule, medyo masikip talaga eh. So, dinagyan namin kasi yung Timor-Leste is the first time na nandito sila sa ASEAN as observer status, which is a step towards becoming a member. So, yun ang kaya kailangan makilala natin. The Vietnamese Prime Minister bago, hindi namin nakilala sa nakaraang mga na ASEAN. Lao Prime Minister, the same situation, bago. So, although the Vietnamese Prime Minister, nakilala ko sa London. Now that I mention it, nakilala ko sa London, but never mind. Para we'll go through the formalities. Ang agenda rito is in the theme is that talagang para how do you say how to make more to revitalize the economies. We've seen sa EU, we've seen sa ibang lugar that the global economies are also turning towards Asia. And the reason is that perhaps we are adjusting better than the Western countries, the African countries, the Middle Eastern countries are also doing well. But tinitignan din ang Southeast Asia and ASEAN. And that's what the subject matter will be, is that how do we play the part that we want to play, which is going to be the global locomotive of the global economy. So I think all of those aspects of that, yun ang pag-uusapan or at least in the Philippines case, yun talagang pag-uusapan natin. But I predict that we will have the same idea in mind.
Thank you, sir.
Follow-up lang. Sir, ngayon po ay May 9.
Yeah.
I'm sure memorable sa iyo ang
Oh,
araw
medyo.
na to.
Oh,
Ngayon yung araw na nanalo ka, 1 year.
I know.
How does it feel?
Oo nga.
Assessment mo sa 1 year? At 1 year ba na rin nag-lock sa mga natalong kandidato? Meron ka bang i-appoint na?
Oh, marami. Talagang gagamitin ko yung 1 year. Asahan niyo yun. By the end of the first year, para maging maliwa. In a sense, tapos na yung OJT ng lahat ng tao. And we've seen who performs well and who is will be important to what we are doing. So, yes, there's really going to be. I don't know about reshuffle, pero reorganization sa kabinete.
Thank you, sir. Catherine Valiente ng Manila Times.
Good evening. Yeah. Well, parang inevitable unavoidable yung subject matter na yun. Dahil pare-pareho na mga membro ng ASEAN, siyempre it is a grave concern to all the member states of ASEAN. So it's considering that we also agree on the concept of ASEAN centrality when it comes to regional concerns. That will be one of the most important subjects that we will bring up. So the discussions on that that we had a year ago, close to a year ago, in that time, marami nang nagbago, many changes have occurred. And that's why we have to calibrate whatever it is that we are planning to do. So yes, there's no way around it. That will inevitably be a part of the conversation that we'll be having tomorrow and the day after.
Thank you, sir. Joyce Balancio, ABS-CBN.
Hi.
Sir, will you still push for the finalization of the code of conduct on the South China Sea, just like what you did with the Cambodia, was the chairman of the ASEAN? Kasi po last time, kayo po nagbanggit, wala naging progress sa COC.
Yeah, but okay, you cannot stop trying. So yes, I'll bring it up again because when we talk about the issues in the West Philippine Sea, South China Sea, hindi magkakalma yan hanggang meron na tayong code of conduct. Kasi may code of conduct, lahat pa sa susunod lahat. And that makes things clearer. Walang possibility na magkamali kasi maliwanag dapat ang usapan. So yes, that has always for me been a key element in the ASEAN centrality solution of all of these problems is really the new code of conduct. Paulit-ulit ko lagi sinasabi and every forum I can find, sinasabi ko, code of conduct, kailangan natin tapusin.
Thank you, sir. Maris Umali, GMA7.
Yeah.
We were also with you during the last ASEAN Summit and the APEC Summit, and you were also, of course, asking for the objective is also to find a conclusion to the code of conduct, but you were not able to reach it. Sir, what do you think are the challenges?
The challenges are because it gets complicated because the code of conduct would essentially be a multilateral arrangement, multilateral, I suppose you could call it a treaty between ASEAN and China. And that's what the declaration that went before was, but now we need a new one. So the problem is that there are it gets complicated because there are bilateral arrangements between member countries and with China that have to be resolved, that we need to resolve so that we can have a common code of conduct. Because over the years, siyempre, lahat nakikipag-usap sa China, yung iba sa ASEAN dumadaan, iba-ibang nangyayari. Kaya napaka-importante nga maging maliwanag na may code of conduct, ganito yung gagawin natin. This is how we operate. Pagka may problema, dito natin i-resolve, etc. Yes, that's getting in the way. But more and more, siguro I'm the eternal optimist, pero I really believe that we will slowly get to the point where we can prefer and say this is what we want it to look like, and this is what we think will be effective.
Sir, in this particular summit, you are optimistic that you'll be able to reach it? And also,
And this summit?
yes.
No, the code of conduct, the negotiations of code of conduct are separate from the ASEAN summits. They negotiate in another way. So that's not something that will be done here at this time. What we need to do is, look, kung wala pa, ano pa talagang naging problema? This is what we have to discuss amongst ourselves. What is the problem? What is the bottleneck? Where are we having a hard time? How can we fix that problem? That's what these meetings should be for, and I think we'll get to that point, because everybody wants this to work. Everybody wants to have a code of conduct. So what's getting in the way? Let's talk about it. Ibang bansa yan, and everyone has a different agenda. But if we talk about it, and with a common thought in mind, I think we'll get there. But I hope sooner rather than later, because the tensions are increasing.
I'm sorry, one last. Sir, will you also give a self-imposed deadline on the talks with China with
No.
regards to the issue
No.
of fishing in the West
No.
Philippines?
The deadline is when it's done.
Okay.
But because if you set a deadline and it's not done, what then? Doesn't really help. Doesn't help anything. So you just keep going as hard as you can, as much as you can, until you get an agreement on the fishing grounds. I've already spoken with our ambassador. And yun na nga, sabi niya, willing na kami, let's map it out. And that's what we'll have to do when we get back. Sinimulan na namin, I talked to the Coast Guard, I talked to the DFA, and I said, this is the proposal of the Chinese. Let's see if we can accommodate that into our agreement. So we're headed there. May progress naman.
Thank you, sir. Ana Felicia Bajo, GNO.
Mr. President, last year po, the DFA asked the Indonesian government
Yeah.
to grant executive clemency to Mary Jane Piloto. Will
Yeah.
we get updates regarding this, sir? And
Well, ganun pa rin. We haven't really stopped. Ganito, this is the impasse, okay? The impasse is that we continue to ask for a commutation or even a pardon or just extradition back to the Philippines. And that is constantly there. But the Indonesians answer us, and it's that this is the law. Ito yung batas dito sa Indonesia. Kaya kailangan natin ipagpatupad yan. And they have already given us postponement of the so, but that doesn't mean it's done. Well, I always at least bring it up na baka sakali magbago. Sa ngayon, ganun ang mga position natin. Is that yes, we agree, we understand that he is convicted. We understand that the law in Indonesia is that way. But nonetheless, baka makahanap tayo ng paraan. Iuwi na lang namin yan. Kami na magpaparusa sa kanya, whatever. But anyway, to ask for clemency, to ask for grace when it comes to this.
Thank you, sir. Last question. May lakad pa si Presidente. Helen Flores, Philippine Star.
Hi, there you go.
did you meet British Prime Minister Sunak in the United Kingdom? And
Yes.
what did you discuss?
Well, this is the same thing that comes up every time I meet with leaders. Nagpapasalamat siya sa magandang trabaho ng mga Pilipino at Pilipina doon sa NHS nung pandemic. At kung pwede ba nating dagdagan, lagi may kasunod na yan. But also, I basically discussed, we were talking politics. And I was saying that I was commenting that at least with his election as leader and now Prime Minister, well, magkaroon ng konting stability in the UK because medyo magulo. And we said, look, sabi ko sa kanya, there are many opportunities that we have had In fact, yung kanilang trade representative accompanied me in Gatwick. And he reported to the Prime Minister that there is this proposal from the conglomerate. Well, the conglomerate we keep hearing about for the airport. That was why I went to Gatwick. That day, report niya, sabi niya, sana matuloy natin, let's talk about it, and ganyan. And we won't be able to do it now because we had maybe 7 minutes, 6 minutes. We can't do it now, but we'll do a proper trip for you to come to the UK, and we'll talk about it soon. That's where we ended. We also met his wife, who kept talking about their mga mga governess ng kanilang mga anak, like everywhere you go. So, ang protocol doon sa reception, bawal mag-selfie. Asawa naman siya ng Prime Minister, sabi niya, I'm going to violate the protocol because sabi nung kanilang kasambahay, ay huwag kang aalis dyan hanggang makakuha ka ng picture kasama ng presidente namin. So, inutusan nila yung Prime Minister at saka yung asawa. Kaya nagpicture. Galing talaga ng Pinoy, no? How about the? Well, yeah, it was very mahirap, very quick. But, kasi dumadaan lang siya na ganun. But, as you can imagine, he was very, very busy. But kahit pa paano, yun na nga, I just caught a few moments with him. Kinamayan ko, nagpakilala ko. The minute he heard Philippines, sabi niya, it's terrible, but you have to endure all of these typhoons that climate change has brought. And sinabi ko nga sa kanya, yes, Your Majesty, you've actually been warning us about this for a very long time. So, yeah, well, but nobody was listening. And then I said that I did not have the chance to come at the funeral of Queen Elizabeth. But please know that I wanted to extend, late as it is, my condolences. It was a great loss to all of us. Even Filipinos who are not British came to love the Queen, especially those of us who spent time in England. And he thanked me for that. And I told him, I then went and said, my mother when she found out, my mother Imelda, pag Imelda nakilala na niya. My mother Imelda, when she knew that I was coming, wanted to send you her best wishes and congratulations for your coronation. And he said, how is she? Kasi kilala niya talaga yan eh. Magkakilala talaga sila. Ako nakilala ko siya mga 2 or 3 times. Pero yung si mother ko talagang, kasi mga foreign, siyang laging representative ng Reyna. Mami ko naman ang representative ng father ko. So, lagi silang nakikita ko saan. And he said, well, give her my warmest felicitations. We had so much fun together. I said, well, congratulations on your coronation. It was very nice. He clearly knows about the Philippines. Marami siyang kaibigan na Pilipino eh.
Did you get invited, sir, to the Philippines?
Ay, nako. There was no time for that. Nagbabayuhan doon sa para makakausap his majesty.
Nice picture.
Well, it's nice, yes, I did. It was, my gosh, it was historical. Yung parang, it was like in the a couple of centuries ago, no? Kinokoronahan ng hari. Kailan pa ba mangyayari sa buhay ko yun? So it was and the way, the British, they do this kind of thing very, very well. And so they did it very, very well yet again. So we wish King Charles a long and happy reign.
Thank you, sir.
All right,
Thank
thank
you.
No.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the Republic of the Philippines, His Excellency Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr., and First Lady Luis Araneta Marcos.
Thank you, yes, Luke Bersamin. Good. Oh, this. Ano ba yung protocol dyan? I've always assumed that the minute you start speaking, everyone can sit down. So there you go. Thank you, ma'am. You see, buti na lang we have GMA with us who guide us along the way. Vice President Inday Sara Duterte, and of course, former President and Senior Deputy Speaker Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, Speaker Martin Romualdez, and the members of the Cabinet that we have here with us today, both those who are staying behind to hold the fort and those who are coming with us to attend the ASEAN Summit. Pasay City Lone District Representative Antonio Calixto, Mayor Imelda Calixto Rubiano, who is, is always in the reception and departure committee. And of course, our First Lady, Lisa Araneta Marcos. The AFP, I don't know, the level of discussion seems to have been... AFP Chief of Staff General Andy Centino, the major service commanders, Philippine Coast Guard Commandant Admiral Abu, my fellow workers in government, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I leave today for Indonesia to attend the 42nd ASEAN Summit at the invitation of the chair of ASEAN this year, President Joko Widodo. I will join other leaders of ASEAN to advance our community building efforts in the region and ensure the well-being and security of our people, in line with Indonesia's chairmanship theme of ASEAN Matters, Epicentrum of Growth. My participation will serve to promote and protect the interests of our country, including our continued efforts towards economic growth, attaining food and energy security, promoting trade and investment, combating transnational crimes such as the trafficking in persons, and protecting migrant workers in crisis situations, amongst others. The leaders of ASEAN will also exchange views on pressing issues of common concerns, such as developments in the South China Sea, the situation in Myanmar, and major power rivalries, amongst others. We will be joined by the leader of Timor-Leste at the 42nd ASEAN Summit. This is the first time that Timor-Leste will join ASEAN as an observer, and I'm looking forward to a bilateral meeting with the leaders of Timor-Leste so that we can discuss their prospective membership in ASEAN. I will also be participating in the 15th Brunei Darussalam Indonesia Malaysia Philippines East ASEAN Growth Area, as well as various interfaces with ASEAN leaders, with the ASEAN Interparliamentary Assembly, and representatives of the ASEAN Business Advisory Council, ASEAN Youth, and the High-Level Task Force on the ASEAN Community Post-2025 Vision. In these meetings, we will have the opportunity to highlight the importance of strengthening cooperation in the BIMP-IAGA sub-region to sustain its thriving economy. The strong partnership between the executive and legislative bodies of ASEAN, the pivotal role of private sector, and the youth in advancing growth and shaping the future, as well as the future direction of the ASEAN vision. I look forward to our productive engagements with our always productive engagements with our ASEAN partners. This is a continuation of the process that we had begun, where deriving from the idea and the principle and the concept of ASEAN centrality in the face of the challenges that we have to answer, not only as single nations, but as this political aggregation that is ASEAN. I am always optimistic because all the interactions that we have had with the different leaders of ASEAN member states, and for that matter, APEC and all the APEC Plus conferences that we've had, there seems to be a very clear area of commonality. And as the theme of this ASEAN summit is clearly manifesting, it is once again towards economic growth, and to recognize that ASEAN and Southeast Asia have been the partners that the other parts of the world, and I speak therefore of India, I speak of China, I speak of the European Union, the United States, Latin America, even some elements of Africa, look to Southeast Asia as the growth center for the global economy. And that is why it is very important that we go and continue to discuss amongst other ASEAN leaders of all the member states on how we can maximize and find that extra energy, that synergy from our working together. Maraming salamat po. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat.
Everybody, please have a seat. Thank you. So glad to see you all here. It's just wonderful to have this room full. It should be, because this is a rare opportunity for all of us. Thank you all for coming. My name is John Hamry. I'm the president. It's just been really a standout visit, and I think we're all very glad for that. You know, there's such a unique relationship between our two countries. It's very personal. It's bottom up. About 3 years ago, I spent a fair amount of time in a series of hospitals, and at every step of the way, there was a Filipino that was helping me. The emergency room, the ICU, the hematologists, the nurses, the doctors. And it wasn't just that they were healthcare professionals. It's that they brought a buoyancy of spirit that's so typical of the Philippines. You know, it made me want to get well, because I wanted to live up to the generosity that they were expressing for me. It was marvelous and a great, great thing. You know, we've had choppy relations between our two countries through the years. My friend Henry Howard is here. Henry was instrumental in returning the Balalinga Bell. You say to most Americans, they don't know what you're talking about, right? No American knows what that means. Every Filipino knows what that is. We took a bell from a Catholic church as a war trophy, you know, and it took 100 years, I think, to get it back. You know, Henry, thank you for doing that. But it's emblematic of the unevenness we've had between our two countries. We're right now entering a remarkably positive period of time because of President Marcos. He is bringing new dynamism to this relationship. And we see each other now in ways where we need each other at a modern time. And it's a wonderful thing. So it's a privilege for all of us. This is his last big event before he leaves tonight. So he's giving us the privilege of talking with him and then also getting his
I get a special Filipino footstool. So thank you for such thoughtfulness. Thank you very much. for the kind introduction from Mr. John Hamrip, the President and CEO. Also with us is our Foreign Secretary, Secretary Ricky Manalo, and our ambassador who cannot wait to see our plane leave. She has been working on this trip for a year. And I think that we owe him a pat on the back for the very good work, the groundwork that he has put in for us to have, for us to be able to say that at the very least, this visit has been a most constructive and meaningful one. I was just speaking inside before we came out, and we were talking about the trip, and I said, generally there is a tendency sometimes when we have these official visits or state visits where you make these declarations and pronouncements which are very general and what we refer to as motherhood statements. We have this on this trip that has not been the case at all. We have gone into a remarkable amount of detail in terms of the establishment and the strengthening and deepening of relations between the U.S. and the Philippines. I am lucky, however, that these arrangements and these agreements have come about because we have such a very strong foundation of our relationship. And now here we are, the CSIS, one of the world's foremost policy institutions on national security and foreign policy issues. The Secretary stood before you to provide his perspectives, our perspectives, on the Philippines' deep bilateral ties with the United States, as well as our country's place in the Indo-Pacific and in the world. Today, I would like to delve into what I think our two countries and peoples have been and will continue to be naturally drawn to each other. I dare say that in a similar vein, the future of the United States will hold more promise if the U.S. works closely, hand in hand, shoulder to shoulder, in lockstep with the Philippines. The answer is simple and more fundamental even than our almost 72 years of treaty alliance. What truly binds our two countries and peoples is our shared value and our commitment to mutual prosperity. In May last year, a record 56 million Filipinos exercised their right to vote. True to our roots as the first Asian republic, we showed the world once again that the Philippines remains a bastion of freedom in the Asia-Pacific. When I came into office, I still reel from the lingering effects of the pandemic and the ripple effects of even the crisis in Ukraine and to the Philippines and to the global economy. My father once said, "Of what good is democracy if it is not for the poor?" He was absolutely right. I'm quite certain that you will all agree that this is the very same principle, a common goal of peace and prosperity for our peoples. We need to work with like-minded partners. It is therefore not surprising that over the past 20 months, in particular, our two countries have seen a steady exchange of official engagements at all levels of government. This includes my first meeting with President Biden on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly in New York, and this visit, the first by a sitting Philippine president to the United States in over 10 years. I do not know quite how that developed that way, as that has not been the case in the past, but we are back on our normal road of partnership, working together, hand in relationship, and where we want our alliance and our partnership to bring us, particularly in terms of addressing the most pressing challenges confronting our two countries today. We noted that the food, water, and energy crises, climate change, terrorism, transnational organized crime, they have all become enormous and complex challenges, not only for the smaller countries such as the Philippines, but even for the large countries and great powers like the United States. We are grappling with both new and traditional threats to our people's security. Nowhere more acutely felt than in the Indo-Pacific region. And the Philippines sits in emerging challenges. It is because national security is no longer simply about territorial defense. Economic security is national security. After some fits and starts in the nearly 125 years since its independence, the Philippines is poised to achieve upper middle income status in 1 or 2 years' time. We are projected to become the 16th largest economy in the world by 2040. For our more than 100 million Filipinos, ensuring their economic well-being and uplifting their quality of life has always been the priority of this administration. We continue to work on finding synergies and aligning our efforts to sustain our economic momentum and secure inclusive development by expanding cooperation in key areas such as agriculture, energy, infrastructure, to welcome and embrace the US-led Indo-Pacific Economic Framework because of fairness, competitiveness, of inclusiveness, sustainability, and resilience. One could argue that the Philippines and the United States are natural strategic trade and investment partners. The challenge now is to make sure that the IPEF brings about concrete, which goes beyond digital connectivity, which has become the most common use of that word, but to include transportation, include trade, include travel by land, by sea, by air. And in that way, we strengthen supply chains, we build resilience, and we open up access and opportunities not only to the digital economy, but to the other emerging sectors that as yet we have not necessarily totally identified, but will come down and will be something that we will have to face in the very near future. We see a couple of issues that are of vital importance to our economic partnerships. First, the program covers over 2,000 products and certainly can be expanded to cover other products of interest. I do not say this lightly, but the Philippines has much to offer when it comes to economic opportunities that both countries can take advantage of. We grew at 7.6% and last year, which made the Philippines one of the fastest growing economies in the Indo-Pacific in 2022. While facing global economic headwinds, we are still projected to grow by around 6% this year, and that is the forecast that we are hoping actually to improve on, and another 6.2% next year. We have a young, dynamic, and skilled labor. Our macroeconomic fundamentals remain strong. As the United States actively looks for alternative localization, agriculture, food security, critical green minerals, digital infrastructure and telecommunications, and, as has been spoken about, and in healthcare. We believe that not only do these areas have a high potential for growth, but will also provide the most benefits to our peoples. To advance our common climate agenda, energy and green metals cooperation will be an important piece of our engagement and must be prioritized. The Philippines is interested in becoming a strategic partner of the US in terms of metal processing for American battery application and development. The increased deployment of clean technologies comes with an increase. We are eager to work with the US government to carve out a clear pathway for maximizing incentives under the Inflation Reduction Act to help our resources of raw and processed materials for battery production to complement your national blueprint for lithium batteries. We have recently advanced electrical costs down. This will allow us to progress discussions with the US companies offering nuclear technologies for government and for commercial use, while we continue cooperation on other capacity building initiatives under other strategies, under Strategic Civilian Nuclear Cooperation MOU, or Memorandum of Understanding. The adoption of geographic information systems, remote sensing, artificial intelligence in the baselining and change detection of terrestrial, coastal, and marine ecosystems. This will aid us as we establish our own geospatial database and equip us to move towards strengthening science-based policy making in our country. We certainly would welcome discussions on joint action research with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, and the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. The NOAA has been providing. Furthermore, with NASA, we hope to formalize our participation in their Asia Air Quality Program. Recognizing that the weather sector has the opportunity to lead the change and to deliver transformative solutions in our quest for climate resilient and sustainable development, we likewise encourage the exchange of knowledge on integrated water resource management and opportunities for joint transdisciplinary action research, with particular focus on the nexus between climate change, biodiversity conservation, and food, energy, and water security. Building on the training of technicians and specialists, including postgraduate education scholarships, providing necessary equipment and implements for the center, and establishing what is envisioned to be the first biosafety level 4 laboratory in the country. We look forward to welcoming pharmaceutical companies open to taking advantage of incentives in using the Philippines as a base for their vaccine manufacturing and distribution operations. We also look forward to our continued partnership in fighting non-communicable diseases such as tuberculosis, diabetes, obesity. We will require massive investments in the human, physical, and technological resources of the Philippine Genome Center, including access to artificial intelligence tools, training of technicians and of scientists, equipment, and relevant research. There are existing cooperative projects that can be built upon or expanded. We also hope to partner with the U.S. Geological Service in training, research, and projects to support our efforts in making a holistic intervention for protecting our coastal areas by targeting environmental degradation in the uplands that impact upon our coastal ecosystems, such as through sedimentation, by restoring the shoreline and protecting marine ecosystems. The United States consistently ranks amongst our top 3 trading partners and top 10 sources of foreign direct investment. We are proud that many U.S. companies, including those in the Fortune 500, have found a home in the Philippines, and hope that more companies would look to us as they devise, because creating prosperity and realizing human potential will not only make the Philippines a more reliable alliance partner for the United States, it will also strengthen our democracies. A bilateral partnership that works for our peoples will in turn attract the support that it needs to thrive, creating a mutually reinforcing circle of trust, one that will truly bring our alliance, our partnership, and our friendship into the 21st century. Thank you all very much for your attention, and good afternoon.
Well, let me be the first to thank you, President Marcos, for some phenomenal remarks and congratulate you on a phenomenal week of visits. I want to reiterate what Dr. Hamry said earlier about just how impressive the last few days of engagements has been. I'm Gregory Poland. I direct the Southeast Asia program here at CSIS. I also run what we call the Asia Maritime Transparency Initiative focused on the South China Sea. So my interest in the Philippines has been long-standing on both fronts. And this is a real honor for us, especially after having so recently hosted Secretary of Foreign Affairs Manalo. Let me start with the alliance. So just yesterday, you visited the Pentagon. You were the first foreign leader to get full honors under the Biden administration at the Pentagon, and which I'm sure was no mistake. And then we saw the release of for 10 years. What does this more equal, more modern alliance look like to you?
Well, it is one that is on a multidimensional basis. The relationship between the Philippines and the United States, although security and defense right now are top of mind, and security and defense are what we feel are the urgent issues that we must attend to. When asked about what is the most important part, I cannot answer such a question because there are so many facets to our relationship. And what I see in the future is just developing all of those. Seeing as I mentioned, that we talk about security and defense. Security and defense can no longer be isolated as one issue. There are attendant and ancillary issues that help solve the problem, and that are part of the solution. And so again, we must really be looking towards for example, on the economic side, we must be looking to adjust our relationship as we all are trying to adjust and to transform our economies. We must look to the new economy that is emerging from the post-pandemic world. And with the impacting forces of the war in the Ukraine. And those are some things, these are elements, these are issues that we never really had to deal before. So now that is why the relationship must recognize that such is the situation, and that is what we had hoped to achieve. And I think we have taken with an agility that can accommodate the very fast-moving geopolitical forces, the very fast-moving geopolitical issues that arise now, whereas it used to come every year or so. Now they are every week or so, and sometimes even quicker than that. So that is the direction that I see the RP-US relationships heading. And this is what we are going to try to develop. And I think that we are in very good agreement with your president and your government as to the directions that we need to take. And this visit has been most constructive in bringing us to that point where we can say we are ready, that we are capable of looking to the world and seeing what the world has become or what the world has evolved, and evolving as well together, so as to be able to play the part that we choose to play in the community of nations.
Most of the announcements that came out of your trip here this week, including the joint statement with President Biden, focused not on security, but as you indicated, on food security and climate change and energy and trade. Are you happy with what the U.S. has put on the table to date on the economic front to make this really a comprehensive, not just a security-focused relationship?
Well, I think that, yes, I am. Now, it's simply because I think it is well recognized by both our governments, not only in. Yes, we are attending to what can be considered to be the most critical areas. They may have, because of the situation in the geopolitical world right now, the wide-ranging discussions that we have had, and the wide-ranging discussions that we have had have come up with some concrete proposals that now our governments will go away and study and try to find the cabinet and some of the rest of the official delegation. We also had brought with us many members of the private sector. That this visit has become a very has certainly set the direction very clearly. And it is important in this volatile situation, this volatile setting, that clarity must be there, so as we are very clear in what we intend to do, what roles we play, and what positions we take on certain issues. And that, I think, we have largely achieved on this trip.
Thank you. You mentioned labor rights and human rights, and a week and a half ago, in response to the tragic murder of Alex De La Rosa, your Department of Justice issued a very strong statement condemning the culture of impunity in the Philippines, arguing that it will not be allowed to stand. Could you elaborate a bit on what your administration...
Critical of the human rights situation of the Philippines derived from the policy that we undertook to fight the drug war. And perhaps and in my view, what had happened in the previous administration is that we focused very much on enforcement. And because of that, it could be said that there were abuses by certain elements in the government, and that has caused some concern with many, in many quarters, about the human rights situation in the Philippines. Well, I cannot speak to what my predecessor had in mind and what his idea was, but what I can speak to is the policy that syndicates have grown stronger and wealthier and more influential, worryingly so. But instead of going after everyone, we have tried to identify the key areas where we have that we have to tackle, the key areas that we have to attend to, so that we can see a diminution of the activity of the drug syndicates. To this end, we have just finished, we instituted a process by which we asked, the problem lies in enforcement. And some of our law enforcement officers have been sucked in to this these terrible systems that have enriched themselves at the cost of the lives of all the police officers from colonel level up. And we have received about, 917 resignations. And we are now in the process of looking through the records of these officers to see those that have had derogatory comments, those that have evidence against them. As of today, 2 of those very high-ranking, I think general rank, have already been removed have been separated from the service. And there are still over 30 cases that are being administratively investigated. And that will continue. And if anything is found that implicates any of them to be involved in any of these activities, then we will start to develop the cases against them, and in that way dismantle this terrible system that has grown up and has become. Change in policy, I believe, is much more focused. I always say that the previous administration had focused on enforcement. We have taken enforcement as far as we can. Now it is time to look at actually going after dismantling these syndicates. And before that, we should also look at not the rehabilitation of those who have already fallen into this drug culture, which has destroyed their lives. Further back to that process is also a process of re-education, of explaining, especially to our young people, what the potential damage is to their lives should they be involved in this way. Not only as users, not only as addicts, but also as dealers and operators of these syndicates. And so it is we are looking at the problem as a whole. We start with the errant policemen. We go back to the rehabilitation process for those who have unfortunately fallen. Will never enter into that kind of lifestyle, to continue to educate and to give options to our young people so that they are not tempted to indulge in these activities.
Thank you. Now, before we turn to the online and in-person audience, I have one more question. We have to address the elephant in the room. China continues to harass Filipino mariners on a dangerous basis. Just last week, we had a near collision with the Philippine Coast Guard vessel at Iron Control, and China has been highly critical of your moves to deepen the alliance with the U.S. How can you maintain a stable relationship with Beijing while still defending Philippine sovereignty?
Well, in the same way that we maintain our relationship with the U.S., we constantly consult with our allies and our partners. We constantly keep our lines of communications open. When I went to see President Xi in Beijing last January, I proposed, so as to avoid these incidents, these unfortunate incidents that we see every so often, such as the blocking of our fishermen from their fishing grounds, such as the, intimidation, really, of many of our maritime forces. I suggested that to avoid these instances, I suggested that we institute a system wherein we have a direct contact, one president to the other. And in that way, no matter if I cannot speak, for example, to President Xi himself, I have someone that I can pick up the phone and call who I know and I have confidence in making my message arrive to the president. And this works, of course, both ways. That if the president of the People's Republic would like a message to arrive to me, then that we have a system in place. We have a system in place to achieve that. And we are still working on it. Our Secretary of Foreign Affairs is working on the details of that engagement is really not an option. We try to balance. In my first State of the Nation is almost simplistic when I describe it, because our foreign policy is based on the pursuit of peace. Our foreign policy is based on the promotion of our national interest. Now, the promotion of our national interest include the defense of our territorial integrity and of our sovereignty. And that is what that we are working on now. And I think that as long as we continue that process, as long as we continue to engage, as long as we continue to assure all our partners, not only China, but all our partners, the ASEAN member states, all the countries in Asia, all those we now include in the Indo-Pacific region, that we have an open and clear and available system to be able to communicate with one another, to have a very open and candid exchange of views, and to explain what it is, a more serious situation than it is already now. We certainly do not want to cause an incident by misjudgment, by mistake, that will elevate the conflict from what it is now to a higher level. And that is not the work of a day or a week or a month. It is something that is ongoing and that really should never end. And that's, in my view, is the only way to keep the levels of confrontation, the levels of misunderstanding to a manageable level.
Thank you. All right, let's open it up to the audience. We have a microphone for those in the room who would like to ask over on my left here. If you just stand up to address the impending loss of the Malampaya field in 2027. This is a energy security question, I suppose.
Again, they come to a consensus, to come to an agreement, and to continue to negotiate. It is not an easy process, but the Malampayo fields are the natural gas fields that lie in our within our baselines and within our exclusive economic zone, and that again is being questioned in certain cases, in certain areas by China, and we continue to negotiate with them. We continue to find a way. The essential problem, the essential roadblock to that whole process has been very simple. China claims certain areas of the sea, the 9-dash line, and covers just about the entire West Philippine Sea. We, on the other hand, have established our baselines, which have been recognized and accredited by UNCLOS. And therefore, there is that conflict. And so what happens now, especially when it comes to exploration for energy, for our energy needs, are which law will apply. Because we say this is part of Philippine territory, and therefore Philippine law should apply. Chinese say, no, it is part of our territory. Therefore, that will just limit whatever natural gas fields we can access. So that's one of the suggestions. But as I say, it's not there is no silver bullet where you say we'll do this and it's done. As I said, we are inching slowly towards a resolution. And that's why we must be constant, we must be transparent, and we must be accountable for all that we do. And I cannot see any other way to handle the problem other than that.
Thank you. Murray?
My name is Murray Hebert. I'm affiliated with CSIS and with Bar Group Asia. I won't ask South China Sea question, although I had a lot of those, because you've done such a good job of answering them. But I'll ask an economic question. Your predecessor had roughly cut off a lot of the mining opportunities in the Philippines. But you talked in your opening remarks about the minerals that you have and that could be developed probably for electric vehicles.